Star Wars Battlefront 2 is pay to win. That's more or less what it is. This isn't particularly new news. This came out when the Star Wars Battlefront beta launched, and people pretty much immediately saw that, holy shit, the loot boxes in this one are perhaps the worst we've seen so far,
at least as far as the AAA games go.
Any chump on day one is going to be able to spend a couple of dollars and have an immediate gameplay advantage over others in this multiplayer game. Oh, they're just cosmetic is what everyone told me for the past year. Well, I knew this shit was happening. It was only a matter of time, and EA, come on. The heat was on 2K Games for their bullshit with microtransactions, and on Warner Brothers Interactive for what they'd done to Shadow of Mordor. You just had to snatch the spotlight away and shine it back on your own arsehole, didn't you? Last year, microtransactions and $60 games became so ubiquitous that a lot of games media just stopped covering them. Just got bored of it, apathetic, because it became banal. It's not news anymore. Sadly, I predict the same thing is going to happen to loot boxes, but at least right now there's still a lot of attention being drawn on these things as publishers experiment and fuck around and dick about and see just how far they can push their customers. And it looks like Star Wars Battlefront 2 is going to push it real good. Progression in Star Wars Battlefront 2, at least as far as the beta has shown, is tied entirely to the glorified gambling. But by the way, I don't give a shit what the ESRB says. I don't care that the ESRB says that loot boxes aren't gambling. I don't give a fuck. I've said before that they're not gambling technically, but I'm absolutely gonna call them gambling because functionally that's what it is. But anyway, if you want to progress in Star Wars Battlefront 2, you don't just unlock things for whatever class you might want to play. It's not about just playing the game and earning the rewards and slowly building up your character. Oh no, this time it's all about chance, all about loot, all about rolling the dice. Loot boxes govern the entire progression system. You get weapons in there, you get abilities in there, you get cards in there, and this stuff can give you an inherent player advantage. Sure, you can play the game for a long time, earn loot boxes that way, turn duplicate items, because of course you can get duplicates in the fucking boxes, turn those into scrap, which apparently it takes a really long time to get enough scrap to get a box. But these boxes undeniably contain items that give you inherent gameplay advantages, and so of course the more real life money somebody is willing to spend, the greater the odds that they're gonna get stuff that helps them out. If you like to play a certain way, use a certain type of weapon, you're relying on these boxes to get it. If you suck with the other weapons, well, tough shit. Buy more boxes, fucko. It's similar to Return of the Jedi, the actual movie, where Luke Skywalker goes to Jabba's palace to rescue Han Solo, and he doesn't have his lightsaber with him at the time. And they're about to throw him in the Sarlacc pit, and then he opens a big fucking loot box and pulls out a machine gun and just mows them down. That's how the Star Wars movie went. The equipable cards that give players buffs have been particularly concerning among those who've played the beta. They come in different levels, levels 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, getting better and better with each iteration. I like what IGN referred to these cards as. They called them objectively purchased power. They talk about how you get skills like healing after kills, lower ability cooldowns. The one I've seen mentioned in multiple places is one of Boba Fett's cards, where the bounty hunter is completely invincible when he fires his rockets in mid-air. You can make some of these cards yourselves, although again, you need these fucking loot boxes, these crates, to get the resources to craft stuff. And all of that takes time. Once again, those who are gonna pony up, those who are gonna spend money on top of the money they already spent buying this game and one of its deluxe editions. I actually went to Google to make sure that it had a deluxe edition. Of course it did. I don't know why I fucking Googled. Oh, and as pointed out by IGN again, leveling up specific classes is tied to the amount of cards you have. It's not about playing matches, it's not about, in-game progression What the hell is that? No, you can just buy a shitload of cards and max out a character with real world money. Again, it's completely pay to win from the sounds of fucking things. Some people are gonna say, oh, but the microtransactions are gonna support the free content that comes out. Except for the fact that unlike the first Battlefront, this one's being released as almost a full game. So whatever handful of free maps you're gonna get, I really don't think it's worth. DICE having sold its soul, and Battlefront selling people a fucking lemon. And all of this is on top of the cosmetic stuff that people defend so much. That's in there mixed in among the stuff that gives you tangible gameplay advantages. And it's because partly of the that's cosmetic crowd that this shit got to happen. People defended loot boxes to the fucking hilt. And I might sound bitter about that as someone who was going after them day one, but I am a little bit bitter about that having seen where it's gone. Because as I've said time and time again, if you give publishers an inch, they will take everything. They will take the country. And most of all, they will take the absolute fucking piss. So here we are now with a $60 game, well, a game that starts at $60 for the shell experience, offering its players on day one the opportunity to spend some more dollars and get an inherent gameplay advantage before they've even started a fucking match. And this is a primarily multiplayer game. I mean, they've barely even mentioned the single player. Gee, I wonder if that's just been strapped onto the side with fucking duct tape. I've been tempted to say, you know, it almost makes the loot boxes in Shadow of War not look so bad, because at least that's a single player game, but that plays right into this fuckhole of an industry's hands. I mean, you look at just basic microtransactions like we saw in Dead Space 3, and they look positively heavenly compared to what we're dealing with now. But that bullshit wasn't acceptable back in the Dead Space 3 days, and it sure as shit ain't acceptable now. But as the industry continues to push the envelope, take the piss, as new scumbag games come out, and then take the heat off of slightly less scumbaggy games, this circle of perpetual money-making with no upper limit on the profit continues and gets worse. That's why, as extreme as it may seem, I do tar all of this stuff with the same brush and treat it all with equal contempt. Make no mistake, Star Wars Battlefront 2's pay-to-win loot box system is worse than Forza 7's pathetic loot box horse shite, which was worse than Shadow of War's pathetic loot box horse shite, which was worse than Destiny 2's pathetic loot box horse shite. But it's all horse shite, and it all stinks as such. And you can interchange Forza and Shadow of War if you want, depending on personal preference. Or, like I say, treat them equal. It's 2017 current year argument. Let's have some equality. It's all equally garbage. And people get tired of hearing about it. I know you're tired of hearing about it. I'm goddamn fucking exhausted talking about it. But game publishers rely on apathy to sneak this shit under the radar. Because a lot of quote-unquote gamers, which is a marketing term, aren't just apathetic, they are angrily apathetic. They care so little it hurts them. And in turn, they lash out on people. And as they shoot the messenger, they become another archer in the marketing army of the publishers that are milking the teats of their wallets fucking dry. Despite the mixed reception, I liked the first Star Wars Battlefront. It was one of those games that even after I'd reviewed it, I kept playing it. It was absolutely the epitome of the shell game experience that's bolstered with paid content via Season Pass. But if you waited a year for the game to have all its content come out and to resemble a finished product, the Season Pass was about $10 by that point. As with Shadow of War, this is a sequel to a game I really quite enjoyed that I am now just over. I now feel compelled to play it only out of obligation, because part of my job is playing games and telling you what I think about them. That's the only reason I have to buy it anymore, despite really enjoying the first and, at one point, being rather excited to play this one. Any idea of having fun with it has just been completely sucked out by the news about how dominating loot boxes are. And it fucking sucks. When they announced this thing, they were like, oh look how generous we are. We're finally giving you a finished product at launch. Look at us. And I was like, okay, finished product. Yes, I love finished products. I love it when game companies give me a finished product for $60. But no. This is Electronic Arts at the helm. We couldn't have them not jump on the latest craze. We couldn't have EA, of all publishers, not find a way to make this as insulting and degrading and undermining of the gameplay experience as possibly. Not EA. Heaven forfend. And as with Shadow of War, I'm sure the developers at DICE would love us to talk about gameplay improvements, you know, how the game actually feels, what the matches are like, how the maps are designed, but no. If the price we pay for video games is this shit, then the price video games have to pay for that shit is this shit. The shit that I'm giving them now. Seems like a fair trade to me. At some point, you know, games media en masse is going to get tired of talking about loot boxes in every single game because this is how publishers win. They shove it down your throat so much that eventually people start liking the taste. But I am happy to see the media at large, for the moment, finally catching up with some of us who are already here. And if there's one thing you can thank Electronic Arts for, it's that. Bringing people together in mutual fucking distaste.